Welcome to Ball Talk Deep, where we talk deep about ball. You guys already know, back at it again. Your favorite host, Erwin and Andrade. We're going to be continuing our NBA Orlando Team Profile Series, starting it off with the LA Clippers, Los Angeles Clippers. The one and only with Mr. Fun Guy. But I'm going to let Andrade. Yeah, exactly. Andrade, let us know, let the BTD community know what you think about the Clippers.
Okay. I mean, all right, we're in the top four teams now. Talking about the top four teams.
Big boys.
Exactly. Things are interesting now. And the Clippers, in my opinion, before pandemic, after pandemic, pre-bubble, post-bubble, or present bubble, are the favorites to win it all. That's my take. I give them like 80 to 90% chance of winning it all.
Okay, damn.
And it's because they have, let's see, last year's final MVP, Kawhi Leonard. They got a phenomenal player in Paul George, who in the playoffs turns into playoff P. And then we got a veteran coach, Doc Rivers, who has one chip under his belt.
That's true.
And has led a star-led team too, a trio stars, so that shows that he can handle all that. And on top of all that, they got depth, an insane amount of depth that just runs down the bench. You know what I mean?
No, of course, man. That goes from like West Coast all the way to the
East Coast.
East Coast. That's how long their depth is. Like, geez.
Oh, facts. And all led by the six men, like I'm Lou Will.
Nah, see, I think he just wanted to sneak that in.
I did. I mean, man, that track's fire on one of Drake's best albums. Just plugging that in right quick. And yeah, I mean, there's a reason he got that song. So like when you got a team like that, honestly, there isn't much to criticize. The biggest criticism I have against them is that I hope they're not getting overly confident in themselves, because in the regular season and even now in the bubble, which heads up, as when we're doing these profile series, we started off before the bubble started, so even now that we're in the last four teams and the bubble has started, I'm trying not to let bubble play influence my take on the profiles too much.
Just looking at how they're playing in the bowl, man, it just seems like these teams just don't care. Like the no. What I mean is like the top two teams, like the Bucks and the Clippers. Like, look, man, there's no home court advantage. True. You know, they're just like, look, the most important thing in getting into the playoffs is that let's just get healthy, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, my little worry with the Clippers is that, and they were doing this in the regular season already, pre-pandemic, was like, yes, you can turn the switch on and off. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I brought this in other episodes. We've learned, especially in recent years, that there is a drastic difference between regular season NBA and postseason NBA.
It's like your mantra.
And it's like two different leagues. It's like comparing La Liga to
MLS.
I was about to say MLS. I don't mean it like that.
Nah. Okay. Let's be a little bit nicer, man.
Right,
yeah.
And it's just like, okay, yes, a veteran player can turn it on and off, but like if you don't get enough chemistry under your belt, like it's gonna be a little rusty and harder to just turn that switch on. You know what I mean? And I'm a little worried, just a little, not like too much. That's why I have them as my favorites. But yeah, that's like my biggest concern. But look, they got all these. They're a great two-way playing team, like offense and defense.
Okay.
They got players that do both. They already had depth that proved itself the season before, which was basically auditioning for Kawhi, and then they got Kawhi. So it's like that same team basically added with Paul George and Kawhi is just phenomenal. And on top of that, they got new additions during the season like Marcus Morris Jr. and Reggie Jackson that are still good players. So it's like they just keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And one quote that I really like, one stat that I really like that proves this is that this year they were the NBA best in averaging 51.5 points per game off the bench for the season. That was the NBA best for bench scoring.
That's the bench.
That's the bench. And last year, they were the best team to ever do it since the measurement started taking place in 1970. And that was the Clippers again which was 53.2 points per game. So a little less than this year, but obviously they had 2 stars this year. And then my biggest, okay, I won't say my biggest, but another thing that I really like about the Clippers is that I'm more confident in that duo than I am in Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Because those are the 2 favorites in my opinion. Like Bucks, yes, cool, they're gonna come out of the East because it's the East. But if we're looking at the overall league, I would have the Lakers and Clippers as the best teams in the league. I mean, we're talking about LeBron James, and you know, Giannis is still getting his seasoned veteran experience in, so let him get his feet wet a little more. You know what I mean? Especially get at least reaching a conference finals. But with LeBron and Anthony Davis, okay, there you go, tying in that experiencing thing. Anthony Davis has never proven himself in serious conditions. You know what I mean? And in serious pressure. And in his fourth quarter stats, even in just scoring, are so subpar. Before the Lakers and on the Lakers. So, like, you're going to tell me I'm going to rely on him as a number 2 man or sometimes as a number 1 man during the playoffs?
Yeah, but remember, man, like, for Anthony Davis, he was being relied to be the number 1 guy. You know, so what doesn't make it seem that he's going to pop off and do his thing, I mean, being the number 2 guy?
He averages less than 5 points in the fourth quarter. Like, even pre-bubble. And
yeah, babe. Yeah, but you don't need Anthony Davis to do that. That's why you have LeBron.
No, man. Well, I understand that. And they have said, like, okay, he'll help carry the first 3 quarters and LeBron will be more rested. But this is the playoffs, man. Game slows down. Pressure moments are a little more heightened. And I trust... Look, if Kawhi has a bad night, I would trust playoff Paul George to fucking show up and score, defend, etc. And if Paul George is having a bad night, I trust Kawhi. Like, the chances of both of them having a bad night, rare. And even if that does happen, the amount of depth that they have is like, Lou Will can pick up the scoring and fucking everyone else too.
It'll be the depth. The reason why the Lakers are gonna go down. Well, 2 things: their depth and their lack of shooting. Like, I think, I was hearing Colin Cowherd talk about this. The Lakers, they're like the worst shooting team right now in the, in the bubble. Like, I'm not sure the exact percentage, but I'm like,
Danny Green's been on and off during the entire season, and even the bubble's been terrible.
I'm like, but yeah, you're gonna need more than Danny Green. Like, okay, the Lakers. Okay, I guess since we're going on the comparison thing compared to the Clippers, yeah, you have AD and you have LeBron. I guess that kind of washes out. Maybe you give them a slight edge, to Kawhi and
AD and LeBron.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, AD.
Yeah, but you saying, what do you mean it washes out?
Okay, what I mean is this: comparing duos. Anthony Davis and LeBron versus PG-13, Paul George, and Kawhi. They kind of like even out per se. So it's in a
I get you. Talent wise, yes, but I would still put.
They'll be they'll be more or less the same. Obviously, everybody's gonna have like their own preference per se. But what's gonna really separate these 2 teams apart is who the hell do you have after? I'm like their third star. For that is Kuzma's been playing. He's been playing good in the bubble.
Yeah, we got Marcus Morris.
Not even that, dude. Just look at Lou Williams. They got Montrezl Harrell. They got Shamet. That guy's pretty damn good. They got Marcus Morris. I'm like, dude.
Fucking Noah. No, I'm just kidding.
Fucking Noah, bro. Like, maybe like if we go 10 years back, but I'm like, yo, Lou Williams by himself, like, he'll run circles around Kuz.
So how do you feel about this Clippers team? Okay, so comparing sake, and what's your percentage of them winning the championship?
I give him a 55% chance
55%
to win it all. I'm like, dude, still, it's like
I'm a little bit friendly with the percentage.
I'm like, dude, it's still the Western Conference. There's no Golden State, like how it was, 4 years. That it's like, yo, they're just gonna run over everybody, and it. It's like, what they're gonna bring, and you guys can't do anything about it. These are really good teams, but there's some really good teams out in the West, and like, matchups are gonna be important. Like, shit, have you been seeing how the Suns have been playing? How I'm not saying. Yeah, or even more scarier, the Trailblazers, which actually have the talent to like scare some damn teams, in the first round.
I told you that was the team that I most feel, if they got the AC, would be the most dangerous AC.
But yeah, when you were saying earlier, look, if the Clippers, if all they had to do to win a championship is like, hey, look, all you gotta do is beat the Lakers in 7 games, I would bet my life that they would beat the Lakers, because I don't know what it is. It's like,
okay.
I guess so, man. Shit. Um, what I was gonna say is because okay, the Clippers they seem like they're aware of their history. They're the freaking Clippers.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that much history there. You have like Lob City, and then you have like that one year that Elton Brand finally made the playoffs. You know, with Chris Kaman, and then you know it's a whole bunch of mediocrity.
They had Lob City for a minute.
You know, they had Lob City for that's when they became relevant.
Yeah.
At that time.
And that's another thing I want to point out. I also feel like another reason I give him a strong chance of winning is that Doc Rivers has in the back of his mind, you know, I don't know him at all, and we haven't spoken on the phone in a minute, but he probably has on his mind, this is his redemption moment. Especially, it's been more than a decade since he last won a championship, and he wasn't able to take that Lob City Clippers team as far as it should have and as expectations had him. So, like, okay, look, in 1 year he got his 2 stars. He leads into the championship. All that criticism and talk on Doc will settle down. You know what I'm saying?
I say more for
coaches. You know, they got that chip on their shoulder.
I feel you, but
players.
okay, but at the end of it, coaches coach and players play. You know, if they're gonna win that championship, it's gonna be based on the players. The coaches are gonna. I know it does obviously, yeah, but the coaches are gonna put you in the best position. Like a great coach is gonna put you in the best position to be able to win. But at the end of the day, the players gotta execute.
True.
But I think it's more going to be that factor that you were saying. It's going to be more on Paul George and Kawhi because these are 2 guys that grew up in LA.
Yeah.
You know, and don't you think that, like, okay, if you ask the majority of people in Los Angeles, there's going to be like, 96% of like, of that town is going to be Lakers fans.
Who's your source? No, I'm just kidding.
No, not source, man. That's just common sense. I'm like, you go to Los Angeles, that's everybody's gonna be like a Laker fan. Like I bet you.
Maybe they start a new wave. Look, Kawhi already started a new wave, bro.
I feel
New Balance.
I feel you.
He makes it look clean.
I
and
feel
his
you.
shoes are clean.
Okay, but I feel you. But the Lakers have like what, 15, 16, 17 championships? I mean, it's gonna take a while for the Clippers to get to that. And I bet you if there's like an event like in Los Angeles that Kawhi and Kawhi or Paul George, they're probably gonna get booed by Lakers fans because
with the parade. They met, I think. I forgot who mentioned it. I think Lou mentioned it, but yeah.
But anyways, just to go with to get back on point. Look, on paper, the Los Angeles Clippers are the most talented team. Yeah. They're the most talented team. But as we know, we've seen it before in history, it's not always the team that's on paper that wins the championship.
Yeah.
But the good thing is they have so many pieces that they can throw at you. They're good offensively. They have a lot of firepower. We already named some of the players, but they have a lot of fire on defense as well. And when it comes to the playoffs, like you said, the game slows down. They have a lot of players that can lock you up.
Yeah.
Kawhi, don't need to say anymore. Paul George, when he turns it on, he'll be very tough to get past. Patrick Beverley, that guy maybe not lock you down, but that guy's gonna be super annoying. It's gonna be.
That clamps badge.
He's got that clamps, Hall of Fame badge. They got pieces, and Doc Rivers has been there before. I do understand that the Clippers, with Paul George and Kawhi, they just got together this year, and sometimes it takes a little while to mesh that together. But Doc Rivers has done it before, with 2008 with the Celtics when they pretty much revamped that whole team. KG, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and a whole bunch of people getting together, but. The only team that could beat the Clippers is themselves. Mm-hmm. If they're on point, if they bring it 100, and they stay relatively healthy, and if Lou Williams doesn't go to a gentleman's club to get the wings, I think they're gonna be fine, and they can definitely beat any team that faces them. But that's our point. With the LA Clippers. Moving on. We'll see. I got a different gut feeling. On paper, they look good.